Everything depends on some very cold equations. Each astronaut has a daily need for 3 gallons of water, 2,000 calories of food, and 2 pounds of oxygen. Survival technology can help. They can extract water from Mars itself, using equipment on board the rover.
The Mars Odyssey spacecraft has shown that average Martian dirt in the equatorial regions is 6% water by weight. So if you want to get water out of that, you can just take some of it and throw it into a pot like a pressure cooker with a lid and heat it to 150 centigrade, and you get out the water. And if you put in about 2 gallons of dirt, you'll get out about a pint of water.
But other human needs are not so easily supplied on Mars.
Certainly on a 2-week journey, if you had to make it across the desolate Martian landscape, you could cut down on food. You could have starvation rations. You can even cut down on water. But the one thing that you absolutely need, minute by minute, is air. You have no flexibility in the amount of air that you need to make it for a specific amount of time.
Despite the need to get to the ERV, there is enough air for several brief EVAs, or extravehicular activities.
Part of the reason for sending people to Mars would be to do some compelling science. So we would imagine them taking samples, analyzing them, trying to understand the environment when those rocks form, things like that. Astronauts could use a whole variety of tools, hammers, hand lenses, spectrometers of various sorts, chemical analysis machines. There'd be probably some mobile laboratory on the rover that would use the materials that they gathered to look at the composition and so on.
There's a number of theories as to how the Valles Marineris was created. It's still not fully clear how the structure came to be, but in most likelihood, quite a few processes were involved. I think that being on the ground and doing field geology is essential to really understanding the processes that have sculpted a complex landform like the Valles Marineris. It's not a simple story. It wasn't just a crack in the earth. It wasn't just fluid flow that formed that. There were different processes acting at different times, layering on top of each other, forming a complex book. And in order to read that book, you really need to be there to turn the pages.
Valles Marineris has a whole variety of different segments. There's places in the middle where there's 1, 2, 3, or even 4 parallel canyons where you go down and up and down and up and down and up. And then the very eastern end, it looks like water came flushing out through what would be a chaos zone, catastrophic floods of water that might have come out.
Was there life in that water? Could some of the rock samples they dig up have enough evidence of fossilized bacteria?
Mars was once a warm and wet planet, and we know that for a fact because there are water erosion features all over the surface of Mars. To look for fossils of life, you want to look for places where water has flown or accumulated, and the Valles Marineris might be one of those places.
Is it even possible that they will find evidence of liquid water under the surface? And in that water, living organisms?
Will life form anywhere that liquid water is stable? Or is there a 1 in a trillion chance occurrence that leads to life? Was there a second Genesis on Mars?
I think it's certainly possible that there's bacterial activity on Mars now, but that's by no means certain. It's a very interesting current scientific question. I think it's one of the sort of most intriguing questions in solar system science.